Welcome to Backbenchers. I hope everything is going well with you all and I hope you all are fine. In today's video, we are going to be discussing about the part 2 of the lesson 6 that we discussed in our previous video. This is the part 2 of that particular portion. As I said all of you that portion was slightly bigger than all rest of the portions. So I have divided that portion into two parts. We have already discussed about part 1 and in today's video we are going to be discussing about part 2. Let us quickly have a look into the division of the chapter. Introduction, then was roots and its advantages, osmosis and its types, terms of osmosis and its significance and tonicity. By the way, this arrow indicates that this portion has been discussed. So if you haven't seen the videos, then I'll be providing the link of the playlist in the description box. Please go and check the videos out. Right now we are at this particular session, this particular portion, and part 1 is done. Part 1 was about root pressure and transportation. In today's video, part 2, we are going to be discussing about forces contributing to ascent of sap. Only this much portion is left to be discussed. So today's portion is going to be today's video is going to be a very small video as well. And then we will be only left with the experiments to be discussed, which will be discussed shortly. And as I've said, all of you, there's a doubt class I've kept after every chapter I'll be teaching. Please do not hesitate to mention or write down your questions in the comment section. I'll answer them in that particular doubt class. So make sure you go and just write your doubts, write your questions in the comment section. I will reach out to you all. Also, I will provide a PDF regarding important questions at the end of the chapter in the description box. There will be my mail ID as well. If any one of you wants me to check your answers, I'll check them out for you. Please go through the PDF once because the questions will be very important and those kind of questions come in exams a lot. So make sure you go through the PDF once at least. Now let us start with the portion of today's. But before looking, let us look into the questions from part 1. The first question is, how are bleeding and guttation different? There were two phenomena that I discussed in the previous session. One of them was bleeding and the another was guttation. Both of them are a lot different than each other. So make sure you just remember remember about the phenomenon properly and then only answer it. The second question is, what is the role of xylem and phloem in transportation? Very simple, very easy question. This topic you have been reading since class 7 or 8 onwards. So I am expecting that all of you know the answer of this. Now let us start with today's portion. We have forces contributing to ascent of sap to be discussed. Now, ascent of sap, if you all remember, sap means basically sap doesn't have any other meaning. Sap means the fluid, the mixture or the solution, we can say. The mixture of water and minerals. Right. Or let me just write it in this way, it is much more catchy. Mixture of water and minerals. All of these things are already discussed in the previous session. Please go and check the videos out if you haven't seen them yet. So sap is basically a mixture of water and minerals which is present in the plant vacuoles. Plant cells have large centrally located vacuole which contains the cell sap of it inside. And ascent of sap basically means the upward movement of sap. This word ascent means upward. So ascent of sap as a whole means upward movement of sap. Now for the upward movement of sap to take place, there are some types of forces which act inside the plants or which act on the cells of the plants which help the sap to move upwards to the leaves. So for happening of that journey, for the cell sap to reach to their destination, that is the leaves, some types of forces act. Those forces we are going to be reading about them. The first force is root pressure. Root pressure is a topic which we have already discussed in our previous session. Our previous session was about root pressure mainly. So I'm not going to be discussing root pressure again. because you all know that what is root pressure. It is simply a pressure which is required for the cell sap to be moved upwards to the leaves. Basically, it is a pressure which is developed due to the continuous inward movement of cell sap. I will just write here. Let me just rub this portion for you all. Okay. So root pressure is basically a pressure which is developed due to continuous the spelling is so confusing of continuous inward movement of sap. That is all about root pressure you all need to know. For further details, please go and check out the part 1 of this particular session. The next new thing that we are going to be learning about today's session is capillarity. Capillarity is a new thing for all of you because you all don't know what is capillarity. We are going to be understanding capillarity with the help of a particular diagram, which is going to be this diagram. Okay, let me remove this ink, otherwise you cannot see the diagram properly. Okay. Let us look into this diagram. In this diagram, we can see that there are 4 tubes and 4 tubes are having the different types of diameter. This is the thinnest tube. This tube is the thinnest tube. And this tube is the thickest tube. All of these tubes are placed in a beaker. This is the beaker. And the beaker is containing some sort of liquid here. This blue thing is the liquid. Let me just use another ink. This blue thing is the liquid. This is the liquid which is used. Any type of liquid it can be. It can be water, it can be alcohol, it can be anything. We don't need to care about what kind of liquid is here. We will just understand what is happening in this whole diagram. So liquid has been taken. One thing you all need to note down in this diagram is equal amount of liquid is taken. All of the 4 tubes are placed in a beaker which contains the same amount of water. You see the level of water here which I am marking right now is the same. The only thing different in the level is inside each tube, which is here. In tube 1, okay, first let us name the tubes one by one. This is tube 1. We will name it tube 1, tube 2, tube 3, tube 4. Tube 4. So in tube 1, if you see, the level of water is the highest. The level of water is the highest, which is this. In tube 2, the level of water is slightly lesser than the tube 1. In tube 3, the level of water is more or less even lesser than tube 2. And in tube 4, the level of water is the least. This phenomenon is known as capillarity. It's a very simple phenomenon. There is no particular rocket science involved behind this phenomenon. It's basically when we take a very thin tube which has very small diameter, and inside that we put liquid. So how much, even if the amount of liquid is small, but then also the rise will be of a high amount. Why? Because the diameter is less. So if the diameter is less, then it is going to take much more space of the tube to fill, much more space of the tube to actually involve everything, involve the whole liquid to stay there. And on the other hand, if we take a tube which is very fat and which has a very broader diameter, then it will take very less space of the tube to fill. The fluid is going to take very less space, as in case of this particular tube. This has broad diameter. See, the diameter of the tube is broad. That's why no matter whatever amount we put, it is going to take less space until and unless the amount is too much. That is what is known as capillarity. See, I have written here that capillarity is a phenomenon by which liquids rise to their greatest height with tubes having the lowest or narrowest diameter. The tubes which contains the narrowest diameter, for example in this tube, the least diameter, in those tubes the rise in the liquid column is known as capillarity. Very simple phenomenon. This is also a force, this phenomenon. Due to this phenomenon, now you all must be thinking that why is this phenomenon even contributing to the ascent of sap? That's because due to this capillarity phenomenon, you all know that plants contain xylem. All these liquid things are carried by xylem. So xylem has tubes, and xylem tubes are also very, very small. You see, in plants, the tube with the narrowest diameter is xylem, which is why what happens, liquid rises to a great height, the fluid which the xylem is carrying rises to a great height, and due to that rise in the great height, it is much more easier to transfer to the leaves. That is why capillarity is important to be studied. It's a very simple phenomenon. It is a phenomenon by which liquids rise to their greatest height. Liquids rise to their greatest height in the tubes having the lowest diameter or the narrowest diameter, you can say. In plants, such tube is known as xylem, because xylem deals with the transport of water and liquid things to the leaves. So the tubes that xylem has is very, very thin, and the diameter of such tubes is also less. That's why they go through the phenomenon of capillarity, which is why this point is involved in the forces contributing to ascent of sap. That was all about capillarity. Very simple phenomenon, very easy to understand. No hard thing is there. Let us move on to transpirational pull, the third force which contributes to the ascent of sap. Now, transpirational pull involves two types of forces to take place. Right, it involves two types of forces. One such force is force of adhesion, and another force is force of cohesion. So I'll just write it like this. It involves adhesion force adhesion force and cohesion force. Let us understand first adhesion and cohesion force, and we will understand these two forces with the help of a very, very funny diagram. You all just see the diagram. See, this is adhesion and this is cohesion. For right now, we are considering water molecules here. We are going to be understanding both of these forces with the help of water molecules. So if you see in the diagram, these blue characters are basically water molecules. Water molecules. In case of adhesion, there is one water molecule, and in case of cohesion, there are two water molecules. Now, let us understand the phenomenon of adhesion and cohesion. Adhesion is basically the attraction of two molecules of different substances, and cohesion is just the opposite of adhesion. So first let us understand adhesion properly. What did I just say? It is the force of attraction which exists between two molecules of different substances. One molecule is water molecule and the other molecule is of a different substance. Let us say that this is a molecule of the leaf. Since it is green in color, we can say that this is a molecule of a leaf. So water molecules are getting attracted to leaf molecules, and the force which is existing between the two molecules to help them stay attracted or stay attached is the force of adhesion. That must be clear to you all. Sometimes you all must have seen that in leaves what happens is, after, like, if you wake up in the morning, then if you look at the leaves, suppose let me draw a leaf first. Suppose this is a leaf, and sometimes if you wake up in the morning, and look at the leaves or the petals of plants, then what you will observe is you will observe water droplets. Many of you must have observed water droplets, right? Water droplets like this. Small water droplets remain like that in the leaves. People say that it is dew. It is definitely dew, but how are they staying on the leaf like that? There must be some sort of force acting between them. And that particular force is force of adhesion, which is helping the water molecules to stay on the surface of the leaf, to stay attached to the surface of the leaf. That is what is known as force of adhesion. So that particular force is known as force of adhesion, which exists between two molecules of two different substances. And force of cohesion is just the opposite of force of adhesion. It is existing between two molecules of the same substance. Here in this case, two water molecules are getting attracted, two water molecules are getting attracted by the force of cohesion. So this particular force is acting between two molecules of two similar substances, and force of adhesion is acting between the molecules of two different substances. Let me just write the definition of those two forces here. Adhesion means force of attraction. Both adhesion and cohesion are force of attraction, remember that, but both of them have different definitions. Adhesion means force of attraction which attracts two molecules of different substances. And cohesion is a force. Cohesion means force of attraction of two molecules of same substances, of the same substance. Let me just write it here. Cohesion is a force of attraction which attracts two molecules of same substance, two molecules of the same substance. Now, due to this adhesion and cohesion, what happens is water which flows through plants has a tendency to make continuous columns in the stem of the plant, due to which there is a pull experienced in plants for the absorption of water. Due to these two forces, what happens? Water when flows through inside the stem, they make long columns in the stem. They tend to make columns in the stem, continuous columns in the plant stem, due to which the affinity for water increases. And if the affinity for water increases, then the plants are going to absorb more amount of water. And if they absorb more amount of water, then more amount of water is also going to be exhaled by them. That is, transpiration is also going to happen or take place in a very rapid rate. So that increases transpiration as well. So all over transpiration is happening, transpirational pull is happening, therefore water is absorbed in a more amount. That is all about transpirational pull. Due to this, what is happening? Cell sap is moving to the leaves much more faster, much more in amount as well. So that is how it is concluding, or that is how it is uh, playing a role in the forces contributing to ascent of sap. We are only left with the last force, that is the force of adhesion. We just now discussed about force of adhesion. The same diagram I have used. Here is a water molecule and here is a leaf molecule. We are going to be taking the help of the leaf molecule here. So this thing is the water molecule and this thing is the leaf molecule here. And to stay them, to remain like this, they are attached with each other, and they are attached with each other with the help of force of adhesion. So the force which holds two molecules together in a substance is known as force of adhesion. Or let me just write a definition which is much more precise to you all, which you all can write in your examination paper. Okay, so force, just a minute, I'm sorry. Okay, so the force of attraction, the force of attraction which exists between two substances, between two molecules, of different substances helping them remain attached is called the force of adhesion. That is all about force of adhesion. If you all want, while writing the forces contributing to ascent of sap, you can also make force of cohesion as a point. But both of them are already mentioned in the transpirational pool. So even if you don't write them separately, that is not going to make a issue. But if you want for the marks, for the sake of marks, if there are more marks in the question, then you can definitely mention these two forces separately as well, because they also contribute to the ascent of sap. And that is all about today's session. That is all about part 2. We don't have anything else to be discussed. We are just left with the experiments to be discussed. And after that, we are going to be finishing this chapter. Make sure if you have understood this video, then make sure you give a like and subscribe to my channel. Also share with your friends, share with your fellow backbenchers, and definitely mention your comments, mention your doubts in the comment section. Please do not hesitate to write down the whatever doubts you're having. I'll definitely solve them in the doubt class. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, take care of yourselves. Peace.